Well, this film was a cornucopia of amazement, and not in a good way. Welcome back to Wrestling with Horror. My name is Andrew Dreamer. As always, I'm here to talk about professional wrestling and horror movies and look at all the ways that they intersect, connect, and everything in between. I'm sure you can already tell by my horrible joke at the beginning of this video that we're going to be talking about Children of the Corn. Not the original 1980s version of this film, but the version that just came out this year, that was released on Shudder and got a small theatrical release for whatever reason. It was filmed in 2020 during the pandemic, but it was shelved until just this year, and I kind of understand why. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This movie is not good. It's bad. It's horrible. And I know that I try not to tear down movies too much, but I can't really say a whole lot about this one. It was good, you know. I just don't have a lot. So, that being said, let's just jump right into this. But, before we do, I've got a quick message about Redcon 1. Enjoy. My name is Andrew Dreamer. I am an official tier operator for Redcon 1. So if you're looking for something to help you achieve the highest state of readiness, look no further. We've got some great deals for you. They have new deals every day. And when you click my link down below and use the code that's going to be down in the description or on the graphic right up here, you can save yourself 20% off your total order from Redcon 1. They have protein, pre-workout, post-workout, creatine, protein brownies, protein brookies. They have all kinds of stuff. And if you're looking to get some nice new clothes too, to help yourself feel better in the gym, look better in the gym, however you want to look at it, they have something for everybody. I promise you'll be able to find yourself something there. Like I say, click my link down below in the description. Use that code that you see down there to get 20% off your total order. And thank you for shopping with Redcon 1. My name is Andrew Dreamer. All right, back to the corniness. So, this film is a sort of remake of the original film. And it's almost kind of sort of a prequel as well. Basically, what happens is you got the opening is this teenager that's trying to protect these kids at this orphanage, and he ends up hurting some of the adults, killing them, and then the police try to stop him, and they pump this gas into the building, accidentally killing all the children inside. From there, you know, the corn is dying. The economy is bad in this town, and these farmers just don't know what to do, so they decide to stop growing corn. They blame it on the chemicals that they're spraying on the crops, but obviously we know that it's not that. It is something more evil. From there, you get your Isaac stand-in, this little girl named Eden. She starts taking over and creating this plot to kind of get rid of all the adults, send them into the cornfields, or just straight up kill them. You know, she doesn't really have a preference. She goes every which way with this stuff. Now, we have our main character and one of her friends. She is not for this stuff. She is trying to save her mom and dad, and you get some really convoluted plot elements thrown in there about the mom possibly cheating on her dad, and it's never really mentioned again other than the fact that her dad is sad and an alcoholic. All right, so I'm going to be honest. A lot of this plot was very forgettable, and I'm having a hard time kind of piecing it all back together in my head. It was a rough watch for me. So instead of just running through this plot, because it's actually pretty darn boring, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I didn't like about the movie. Well, a lot of things I didn't like about the movie, and just a couple things that were actually, you know, pretty decent. All right, I'll start off with a couple, you know, things that were, I guess, positives. Didn't save the movie. Didn't help it at all, really, but I was able to at least look at it and say, hey, this isn't the worst part, if that makes sense. So there's a scene where our main character's friend, he's an abused kid, he's a teenager, but he gets hit with this metal bat by one of the younger kids, and the effect on his face that they use after the hit was actually pretty gnarly. It looked pretty good, and that's, you know, kind of leads into this next part. It was I can see where their ambition was coming in as far as the effects of the gore and how creative they could get with it. Now, it wasn't always executed in the best way, but I can see that that ambition coming through there, especially with this effect in particular, because there were a lot of other effects that didn't really accomplish what they wanted to. Another good aspect of this film was this moment where you have a bunch of the adults down in this, they basically took a backhoe and dug a huge hole in the ground and put all these adults in there with the gas that was used to kill the kids earlier in the film. Now here, they're all standing down there, and you have the little girl Eden up top, and she gives the order to bury them. And it's actually a pretty intense moment where they're dumping all this dirt on these adults, and they're all smothering. You can just kind of imagine how horrible of death that must be, to be trapped down in that hole and have all this dirt just piled on top of you and weighing you down like that. And I'll be perfectly honest, that's pretty much all the positive things I have to say about this film. So let's move right into the things that I did not like. Starting off, we have atrocious acting, we have subpar writing, subpar directing, and some pretty shoddy CGI effects throughout the entire film. A lot of this film looks like it was filmed in front of a crappy green screen with a stock photo that you found on Google. I'm just being perfectly honest about that. The story doesn't really make sense. It's a boring story. You have very forgettable characters. I can't even, for the life of me, remember the main character's name right now. Bo. I think it's Bo. Bo Lynn. Yeah, her name's Bo Lynn. See, that's how forgettable these characters are. She has this friend named Calder who, their interactions with one another were just a trudge to get through, because their acting was so just off base. I don't know if they didn't have chemistry or if they're just not very good actors, and I don't like putting down actors or people trying their best, because I know what it takes to make a movie. I know how hard it is, and you know what, they went out there and did it, so I'm trying to be as nice as I possibly can, but the acting in this film was just not good. As I mentioned earlier, you had some very convoluted story elements. The means to getting these kids to turn on the adults was just a little forced and just dumb, because the whole driving force behind these kids really like setting this evil plan in motion is that they decide to stop growing corn, and all the kids are like, how can you do that? We have to have corn. And that's pretty much what causes them to be evil. So that part of it just didn't work for me. That story just didn't really hit home, and from there, it just didn't really get worse. There's a part towards the climax of the film in the third act when they douse Bo over, they douse her with gasoline, and they go to light her on fire, and then she's like, wait, you know, if you burn me, then you burn all of the corn, and then he will have nothing, and you will have nothing, and you will all die. Yeah, that was pretty much how she said it, too. It was hard to watch. And then she basically just throws dust up in their eyes, and she grabs Eden and, like, you know, is holding her hostage, trying to get out of there. And then you hear the footsteps of He Who Walks Through the Rose, or He Who Walks Behind the Rose, whatever it's called. I'm perfectly honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the Children of the Corn franchise. I think I've seen maybe 2 or 3 of these movies, other than this one, and I just don't know if I could watch all 11 of them. I would like to review them all, but I just don't think I could get through it. So you hear the big foot stomps, and out of the corn emerges this big Groot-looking dude. It doesn't look like a monster. It looks like somebody who's just Groot. Yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest. He looks like he's made of trees and corn stalks, and that's fine, but, you know, we used to have, you know, like this static that covered him so we could never see him, and I kind of wish that was there. I kind of wish we still had that. And then from there, you know, she gets away after all of this stuff, and she's running through the corn, but she's still doused in gasoline, so of course she's going to run a mile, leaving a giant trail of gasoline the entire way, because of course it's not going to dry. It's not going to stop dripping off of her after running through a cornfield. That makes perfect sense. She gets to this car this car that earlier in the film was stated to have a gas leak. So, hey, big brain idea, I'm going to drive it through the cornfield. And then Eden shows up in the back seat out of nowhere, because logic. And then Bolin basically says, wait, before you kill me, can I have one final request? And I just want a cigarette. And then Eden even is like, when did you start smoking? And she's like, well, I'm trying to quit. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. Of course, she throws the cigarette in the cornfield and it catches all on fire because there's this giant trail of gasoline leading all the way back to the barn where she was held kidnapped. And just, again, it's just stupid. It's stupid, and then it ends on kind of like not really a jump scare, but like this last little scare moment of Eden burned, but now like this other entity walking out of the cornfield up to Bolin, and I could have done without it. It was not easy to get through this entire film. Now, I will say, it's not as bad as some other movies that I've reviewed. Not as bad as Jeepers Creepers Reborn, although I feel like I could watch Jeepers Creepers Reborn more than I could watch this. Definitely not as bad, but, that's different flavors of ice cream. They're both horrible movies, and this fits right in there. And from the things that I've heard, Children of the Corn is a pretty crappy franchise as a whole, and even that original movie is not the best. Sure, you have Linda Hamilton in it, and for that to be the best in the franchise, that tells you something about the franchise as a whole. I'll leave it at that. Now, I would like to look at that original film because I haven't seen it in a while. I would like to go back and rewatch it because I can have a little fun with it. Like I said, it's not the best Stephen King adaptation. It's not the best horror movie, but there is a little fun to be had there. So I'm going to go back soon and I'm going to rewatch that movie. I'm going to review it, and then you'll get that video here on the channel. But the last thing I'm going to say about Children of the Corn is this film is horrible. I don't care if I ever see this again. And let's rub some manure on this cornfield and just get out of here. Also, don't forget, if you've made it this far in the video, that coming up this summer, we have SOS Summer of Sharks. I'm really excited about that. I love cheesy shark movies. I'm going to have some fun with it. We're going to rip them apart, talk about how bad they are, how good some of them might actually be. And we're just going to have fun this summer. Let's pretend we're on vacation, pretend we're at the beach, and not pretend we're getting eaten by a shark, because that is terrifying. But until next time, my name is Andrew Dreamer, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And I will see you next time on Wrestling with Horror.